work in New Zealand in a difficult district just outside Christchurch with young people. And for that, she got a Paul Harris Award. She didn't even know what a Paul Harris Award was. She had to go home and look it up to find out what it was. But it just shows the quality of the people that we get there. But as I said, I work with these people. We're given one each year that we can distance host. And we have them down into the district to come and talk to us, to come and show us what they've done, and to show them a little bit of Norwich and what Norwich and Norfolk and the district is all about. They are truly, as I say, inspirational people. Now, last year, Cambridge South held a peace conference for the first time. They've always done something that's linked with Peace One Day, which takes place on September the 21st. It's not a Rotary initiative, but it's something that they link in with. And they link in with their local high schools. They run a debate, and then they run sessions with their with the Peace Fellow, working with young people. And last year they put a peace conference with it, which was very good, but it wasn't quite what I wanted for our area. And I think in Norwich, what we're going to do is something, I think it's going to be really fantastic. I would say that, of course, but can I thank you very much for giving me some money. I've actually got enough money now to enable me to get a grant. And the idea is what we're inviting students from 14 upwards to come to Norwich, to the County Council Hall. And we're having this conference on Saturday, 17th of October. I'll just quickly run through the plan for the day. They'll come about 9:30. They won't pay anything. They will come at 9:30. They'll have coffee and biscuits and things to start promptly at 10. We've got the council chamber, which is absolutely beautiful. It really is quite stunning. We still have comfortable seats, which will be wonderful. And they're going to have speakers for the first part of the morning. Then we're going to have breakout sessions, and they're going to go into different rooms and they're going to discuss. Because I don't like the thought that young people are being put in a situation where they have to listen to us oldies, you know, the sort of thing, when I was a youngster, this is what I did. Well, that's not what it's all about. The aim is to give them an opportunity to share their ideas, debate their thoughts, and come to some conclusions as to where we can move things on. So that's the morning, and then there'll be a buffet lunch. And then in the afternoon, there'll be another breakout session, then some more speakers, and the last thing in the afternoon will be a session where they are allowed to question the people who have been talking in the conference. Now, sadly, the person who's opening the conference is the chairman of Norfolk Police Force, who is Simon, and I can't remember his surname, I'm sorry. He's starting it off, but he won't be able to stay for the day. But we have two students from Bradford, Claudia Maffatoni and Amy Shanks. We've got a student from Norwich called Abdul Razak, and you really ought to have him speak to you, Martin, because he is a truly amazing guy. He really is. He'll blow your socks off. He really will. So he's speaking. And we've got my group of young people that I actually work with on the Rotary Peace Project. They're coming to talk as well. But any help that you can offer, if you want to come on the day, I realise for some of you that's not possible. But if you'd like to come and join us, that's more than possible. I just need to know by the end of September. For the gentleman who lives in Scotland, you do have peace conferences up there, run by Jean Best, who is in the Kakubri Club, and she actually wrote the Rotary Peace Project. I know her very well because she's actually my sister. But she and her her husband was district governor up there a few years ago, Keith Best. But Jean is she runs the peace project in Kakubri, which is superb. And the very first peace conference she ran was in the Edinburgh Parliament building, which was stunning. But keep a lookout for that if you're really interested and want to go along, because I went to the first one, couldn't get to the one last year, but they'll have another one, and I shall try and get up for that because it's really good. The aim is to allow these youngsters an opportunity to develop their ideas and to talk with like-minded youngsters. We want to recognise that and acknowledge that they have, now I'm reading from my booklet here, so an innate expertise of young people, enable them to resolve conflict and embrace success, and empower them to become leaders of the 21st century, because that's what they're going to be. They're not the up-and-coming generation, they're actually there now. And if you've never heard some of these young people speak, they will just blow you away. They have just got such fantastic knowledge of the world. And it's a totally different world to the world that I had when I was their age. So they are stunning young people. I really have a lot of time for them. And I was a primary school teacher, and I vowed I would never teach or work with young people who were taller than me. And they are all taller than me. And it's frightening because some of them are big lads particularly, but they are lovely. And what we started off by doing, this is my other job, is to engage with any peace activities that we can do in our district, one of which is working with young people. And we started by using a thing called Peace Jam, which links with a lot of the peace laureates, which is really good, and it's an excellent syllabus, but it doesn't link very well with our education syllabus in this country, and it links even less with the one in Scotland. They don't like you to change anything, and it is expensive. So we left that behind, and we now have our own Rotary, which I'll show you. It's the Rotary Peace Programme, which is written by Jean Best. And it's creating Rotary Peace Advocates. And it's working with young people. And I go in every week to our local high school and work with a group of, well, I've got 9 at the moment. They're all taller than me. They can all talk more than me. And Martin knows I can talk, so does Keith. I can talk, but they can talk much better than I have difficulty at times keeping them quiet. But the aim is we work together on learning different ways of tackling conflict. And that's not fisticuffs. That's the problems that they have in their own lives. And it can be anything from cyberbullying to just difficulties with parents, or it can be anything, but it's a way of learning how to deal with things. And it works on using collaborative conversation, which is a bit of a mouthful, but all it means is if you have a problem, you sit down and you write down all the solutions. You can do it on your own, you can do it with other people, but you sit and write down all your solutions, however stupid they may appear. It doesn't matter. And then you go through and you think, well, yes, that one would work. Oh, no, that one possibly wouldn't work. Oh, no, that's too silly for words. And you come up with a group of things which might be able to work. Now, if you're working with a group of people, this is where you start having your discussion. Well, this might work, that might work. No, that won't work. And in our group, we have, before we start, we have worked out norms of how we will work. And the norms are what I shall use at the conference. We listen to what everybody says. No matter how silly it might sound, we listen. We don't laugh at what people say. We give people, everybody, an opportunity to speak. It's not a case of one person speaks the whole time. You give everybody an opportunity. And these are the sort of things that we use with our talking. And then when we've mastered that, and we have to practice it every week, because there are certain members of my group who are not very good at listening to other people and who really don't want to hear what anybody else has to say. But we work on it. And then we go on to purposeful speaking and purposeful listening. They're all mouthfuls, but they're actually, all it means is really listening to what people say and taking on board. So you actually listen, and then you might repeat it back to them and say, are you really saying this, 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 and this? So you actually understand where they're coming from. And then speaking, so that what you say is what you really mean, with no hidden agendas. And it takes a lot of practice. There are various games that we play that enable us to do these sort of things. So that's what this, they then become peace advocates when they've managed to achieve all this. And then we move on to doing various projects. And the project that my lot are working on at the moment is they're doing this Lend with Care, which is where they raised a small amount of money, and it was only a couple of £100, I think, and they loan it to people in other countries who are wanting to run, it's microfinance basically. But what they do is they lend the money, they choose who they're going to lend the money to. And once they've decided, it then comes back in dribs and drabs, and so they send it out again. And it really did make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, actually, because to think that here were 9 youngsters, 15, 16-year-olds, sitting in a little secondary school in deepest Norfolk, setting up a business on the other side of the world. Now, that has to be good. That has to be mind-boggling. That really does. And they are thrilled to bits. And, of course, as the money comes in, they then look at where they want to lend it out to someone else. So these people that I'm working with at the moment will be speaking at the conference in October. They will have a slot, and they will also be helping to run some of the breakout sessions. So that's what you're helping to fund. And again, thank you very much. I do appreciate that you're actually wanting to sponsor me. But if I can find my piece of paper, I've got so many pieces of paper here. There it is. I just want to finish with 2 little things. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbours. If there is to be peace between neighbours, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. I thought that was very, very relevant, because if these youngsters haven't got their own peace of mind, they're hardly going to be any help to society. And the other thing is, the theme this year is be a gift to the world. And you, by giving me some money and working with these young people, are making peace your gift to the world this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Made sense, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Keith is laughing.
yeah, as I said to you, when people put their thumbs up, it's all right. It's when you get the fluffy dog that you want to worry.
I haven't got any fluffy dogs. Chris is looking very serious.
No,
I don't think this camera angle is good for me somehow.
All right. But that's where we're coming from. That's what the Peace Conference has come out of, this peace initiative, that we want to get it out into the schools, and we want to give these youngsters an opportunity to speak. I'll shut up.
So apart from the money, Pat, what can we do specifically in terms of, or can we do anything specifically to actually support that in terms of either going to schools or liaising with schools or doing something?
Well, if you're in East Anglia and you've got any contacts in schools, that would be brilliant.
I used to school over that, for instance. I think 2 or 3 others did, probably.
Yeah. If you're mentoring in schools, that sort of thing,
yeah.
To get them to come along would be absolutely brilliant. You can either, all schools have had details I've sent out details to every school in our district.
What age group?
So 14 to, well, it'll be 14 to 18, 14 to 18. Last year, the one we did in Cambridge, we only did sixth formers. And that was a bit of a mistake, because what I hadn't realised was, in East Anglia particularly, a lot of schools finish at 16.
Right.
And then they go on to sixth form college. So what was happening was, they were starting a new school in September, and this conference that we were running in Cambridge was on the 21st of September. Well, some of them had only been in school 2 weeks.
Right.
In a strange school, they hadn't time to make any contacts, they hadn't time for anything. It was too soon. Whereas by doing it that little bit later, October the 17th, it's a week before they break up for half term. It's on a Saturday rather than a Sunday, which I think is slightly better. Being in Norwich, it's easy to find. It's just off the ring road. There's no parking problems. It is actually used as a car park if Norwich City are playing at home, but Norwich City are playing away that day, because I've checked the fixture list.
So they're away. You beat me to it. I was going to.
Yeah. No, Norwich City are away, so we're fine. But it's free to park. I mean, if parents want to bring them, they can bring them. They can park there. It is a little walk into the city, but you can walk into the city. It's not that far. You could walk down to Riverside from there quite easily.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a good venue, and we've been given it for free. The money that we're using is to pay for the food for the youngsters to get there, because I don't want any young person to be put off coming because they can't afford to.
Right. Okay.
And that was the aim in having the money.
Brilliant. Open it up to any questions. Anyone got any particular questions to ask Pat?
Pat, this course that they do in Bradford. What is that? Is that a 1 year course, a 3 year course?
It's slightly longer than a year. Rotary have. Let me just find my piece of paper, because they have six Rotary Centre for Peace Studies in the world. There's one in Bangkok, 2 in America, Duke University and the University of North Carolina. There's one in Japan, one in Bradford. I mean, why it's in Bradford, I really don't know. One in Sweden and one in Australia. And they choose each year 10 students. And there is a specific thing with the students. They have to already have a university degree. They have to have been out in the world and done something which relates to peace and conflict resolution. But when you read what some of them have done, they are just mind-boggling. And they come and they end up with an MA in International Studies in Peace and Conflict Resolution. They come in September, and in May and June, they go out and do an internship somewhere. Amy, the one that we distance host at the moment, is working with Save the Children in London. She's doing 3 days there, and then she's working with another group in Reading for 2 days a week. Some of them have gone abroad. Some of them have gone to work in Geneva, and they do an internship on whatever their particular things are, and then they come back and they write their dissertation. And in the very last weekend in October, they do a presentation. It's called the Bill Huntley Seminar. And you can go online and find out all about it. Bill Huntley was a man who gave a lot of money to peace and really encouraged it. But when these students come, everything is paid for. They are paid their flights, their living expenses, their education commitments. Everything is paid for. So it's a lot of money. So you have to be somebody pretty special. It's always oversubscribed, always. It's something like 50, 60 students to every place. It really is. And they are very highly valued afterwards. they almost all go on to really top-class jobs, and they're known as Rotary Peace Fellows. But one chap who we have had in the district, actually, his name is Rich. He comes from Liberia, and he was a truly amazing guy. He put at the end of his summary of what he'd done. He'd built up the West African Youth Network. He was made a refugee. He had to come out of Sierra Leone, and he ran the Rotary Peace Caravan, and constructed Rotary Peace huts at border areas and cross-border workshops for youth and security and traditional leaders in 4 West African countries. And he put at the end of his, "I see my association with Rotary as one of the turning moments in my career and life." So he really values the help that Rotary have given him. They are just stunning people, these youngsters. And if you want to go along to hear them, you can go to Bradford. It's October the 31st this year. You can go to Bradford, book in and hear them. But I do urge you to look on the website. If you just type in Rotary Peace Bradford, it will come up with the website. And it's very, very inspirational.
Good. Well, funny enough, do you know if Philip Akita is actually doing peace fellowship work in Nigeria?
At the moment, Philip, as far as I know, was working, because one of his jobs was working with farmers to get the best possible price for fertilizers and that sort of thing that were coming in. Because, as he said, in Nigeria there is an open culture of people taking bribes. He said it's quite blatant. You don't hide it; they just do it. And he's been trying to work on that. But I haven't heard from him for a little while, so I don't know quite what he's working on at the moment.
For those members who don't know, Philip Akita came online probably a couple of months ago and visited and expressed an interest in joining Rotary. He has actually been in touch with me a couple of times, but he's been in hard-to-reach parts of Nigeria. He went back to Nigeria to carry out some peace fellowship work, and he from time to time communicates with me, and at the right time is hopefully he is planning to join our club or try to join our club. So that would be one fellow who would actually.
He does actually travel around quite a bit, because his job takes him all over the place. He's working with non-government associations but he does move about quite a lot. So he may be difficult to track down.
Sure. Which of course an e-club would actually be a benefit to him in that respect.
Yes, I did recommend it to him, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else got any questions?
Yeah.
This is a bit difficult for me to put because my background is military. Is there a conflict, do you think, between the peace movement and the armed forces? And do you think it's sort of necessary for us to keep armed forces? Or I mean, obviously in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to have it, but it's not an ideal world, is it?
No, it isn't an ideal world. And I think we would really like to think that we didn't need armed forces and we didn't need any weaponry. But you and I both know that's not going to happen. Possibly, I'd like to hope that in the future it would. But for my personal opinion, which is not necessarily owned by anybody else, I still think that the armed forces are very useful in peacekeeping initiatives. They do a lot of peacekeeping. They go into areas where they do work as peacekeepers. I know sometimes they have to go in and do difficult jobs. I have to be honest, it's not a job I would like to do, but having listened to some of the people talk about what they have done. We did have a chap speak to us called Duncan Slater, who had been in Afghanistan and had lost his leg, being blown up by a landmine. But he was there doing peacekeeping jobs.
Yeah.
So I see where you're coming from. I still think even though I would like to advocate that there are peaceful ways of doing everything, sadly there aren't, and there are times when I think armed aggression is possibly the only way at the moment. But I'd like to think that eventually we might not need it, and it can just be used in a peacekeeping way.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually are called the Ministry of Defence, so it's
yes
from the attack.
But go on.
I think isn't there a country in South America that doesn't have an armed forces?
Yes, there is.
There is.
Yes, and I can't think where it is.
It's next to Costa Rica. I'm trying to think of its name.
It's not Nicaragua, is it?
Nicaragua. Yeah, it's Nicaragua. It was quite interesting. We went down to Costa Rica, and we went down the river, and the river went through the edge of Nicaragua. We had to get out of the boat. It was only a rowboat type thing, but we had to get out of it to the border patrol, and it was a border patrol. But we were talking to them, and it was quite fascinating that they are bordered by quite a number of aggressive countries, but they haven't actually had any sort of armed forces to speak of, or any conflict that they've had to resolve with forces.
No. Well, it's like Switzerland. I mean, Switzerland are always neutral, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're always neutral.
I've got a picture of Trish and Lynn, our friend, with the border guards, and they had a devil of a job trying to keep his hands in the right place. So,
so we won't go into that. Too much information.
There was nearly a bit of conflict there, I tell you.
Too much information, I feel.
Yeah.
But I know where you're coming from, Stuart, and I appreciate that there is a place, I think, for armed forces. I don't think I could kill anybody, but I have to say, if I thought anybody had interfered with my children, I'm not entirely sure what I would do. Yeah. And I think in us all there is that initiative, really, to protect your own.
Yeah. Oh, does it come up at all in discussion? I suppose it does come up.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yes, very much so. Because one or two of the people, not the ones I've got now, but one or two in my last group, were in the Air Cadets.
Yeah.
And talked a lot about the military. But you have to come to it in your own head, I think, and it's giving young people a way to solve problems themselves, and then the aim is that they will pass it on and it will go out into the world eventually. And it's like the story of the starfish. We can't change the world overnight. If you know the story of the starfish, it's the man on the beach with a whole load of stranded starfish, and he's going along throwing them one at a time back into the sea. And someone comes along and says to him, "You're never going to get all those starfish in." And he said, "No, I know I'm not, but I can make a difference to this one, and I can make a difference." And it's a case of making a difference to one at a time. If that's the way it goes, then that's the way it goes, Does that make sense?
Yeah, fine. Yeah,
thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else before we sort of wrap up? Any other questions from anyone?
Can I just make a statement?
Sure, Alan.
Please do.
Yeah, there is an article in the Rotary magazine on Peace One Day. I did an interview with Jeremy Gilley.
Yes.
And it explains Peace One Day and what they do for the 21st of December. There's also an article in later Rotary Today in December on Peace Fellows.
Oh, well done.
Which was researched by myself, and yes, I spoke to a number of Peace Fellows and the people that did it.
Brilliant.
Okay. Yes, well done. The other thing is...
Sorry. Rotary Today and Rotary, so it's all there.
The other thing is you also commented and did an article on the Champions of Change.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Jean Best, who wrote this Rotary Peace Project, she won a Champion of Change for writing the Peace Project and doing it. So
okay, because there were two awards for that as well, because they had an award in Jersey for.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
They're becoming the island of peace, aren't they?
Well, I think they are. 70 years of peace.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So Rotary Today is the place to read.
Yeah.
Just a plug, sorry.
No, I'm glad you did, because I remember reading it, and I didn't think to bring it up, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I think actually if we could manage to get, again, we're looking ahead at our speaker program, if we could manage to get Luke when he comes online. Luke is the president of the Rotary Club of Kabul in Afghanistan, and contrasting that, I mean, I know Alan has interviewed him already, but I think that would be quite an interesting talk, Alan, wouldn't it? To get
it would. He's very good, actually, Luke is as well.
Yeah.
Once she starts, she'll never stop.
See, I have stopped. Now, there you are, Keith. You see, I can stop talking occasionally. Not often, but I can.
Just going back to the peace conference finally, Pat, you said, I mean, is there you said we could attend, or is that not?
Yes, you can attend, but I do need to know if you're coming.
Look like what? When we attend, what do we do? Do we sit and watch? Do we?
You sit and watch.
Yeah.
You sit and listen to the speakers. There'll be a breakout session. I'm not sure at the moment. I'm very tempted to put some Rotarians in with the youngsters, but to say to the Rotarians, zip it, let the youngsters talk, because they will, and you'll learn an awful lot about young people by just listening. I don't mind you throwing the odd comment in. I wouldn't like you to think that you couldn't do anything, but it would be really nice, I think, if you could go along and hear what some of them have to say. They truly are an amazing group of young people. We are so lucky in this country. I've got
to practice sipping it before I can do that. That's the
Yes, well, I shall sit behind you with a big stick, Martin, and poke you. Yeah, but it will be. I think you'll come away and think your mind will just be blown.
Will you be videoing part of it or not?
Well, Martin, that's down to you, sunshine.
Oh, thanks.
Well, you know how good I am with technology.
Well, it might be that we can talk about how we can actually do it in such a way that we can promote it through social media, and that might be where the E-Club can actually help to promote and get involved in trying to.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
And
that's over to you, Martin. No,
that embrace people like James and Sam and Alan and people, because although they're not in Norwich, unless they want to travel all the way to Norwich, then it may be that we can do it by promoting it through social media. I mean, James is brilliant at that.
But certainly, James, I'd look at the Kakubri site, because they work a lot in Kakubri school. They've now actually got it put on their curriculum in the school, and there will be another conference, but I can't remember when it is, but there will be another one later on, and it's certainly worth going to. It is very interesting to hear these young people stand up.
Good. Okay, unless there's any more questions, then what I'd like to do is just extend my thanks to Pat for
my pleasure.
Braving the technology and coming to terms with it.
That's quite painless, really.
I know. Certainly about a month ago, I know Pat was saying to me, "Oh, I'm not sure. I'm really nervous." But then last week she said, "Oh, I'm really excited and I'm really looking forward to it." And certainly you mastered it very well, and you've explained to us your role and what is being done in our district with regard to peace and the peace initiatives. And I think between you certainly and your sister, then peace will be one day. So I'm sure that we've all enjoyed it, and if we could actually just show our appreciation in a normal way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nothing over the computer.
Yeah, that's right.
Novel.
As my home is Castle Douglas, I was impressed to have anyone say anything other than Kirkcudbright. But because I'm a nosy bugger, whereabouts in Yorkshire are you from originally?
Halfway between Sheffield and Barnsley.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a place called Chapeltown.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
But,
yes.
Yes, but my sister lives in Newton Stewart.
All right. Yeah. Very
And
nice.
Keith is Keith's club. Her husband's club is Newton Stewart, and her club is Kirkcudbright. She travels to Kirkcudbright, and she's president this year.
It's a lovely part of the world.
Oh, it is.
But most people just don't know about. That's all.
No, but that's